Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review of 10 Cloverfield Lane starring John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and John Gallagher Jr. It's produced by JJ Abrams. There's the company Bad Robot Productions, and directed by first-time director Dan Trachtenberg. Now, this is basic. First of all, I gotta say right off the bat that this is what the filmmakers described as a spirit, like a blood relative or a spiritual successor, which meant that it turns out that they basically wanted to do a Cloverfield sequel, but they kind of abandoned the idea because they said with Godzilla and Pacific Rim, they just felt like the kaiju movies were played out, and so they decided to make a film like this, which is basically a spiritual successor, which essentially they said, had a similar, basically just meant like it had like a similar tone, like a sense of mystery and paranoia, and you don't know what's going on, you're not sure what's going on, and just to make it its own thing. So if you're going into this film expecting this to be like a direct sequel or to answer any questions about the Cloverfield movie from 2008, just don't, because you're just gonna be disappointed and completely pissed off about that. I'll tell you that right now. And this is coming from a guy who's a huge fan of the Cloverfield movie. I thought it was like fantastic. I didn't mind the first person, shaky, found footage shaky cam. I know that bothered some people. And it bothers people now since now it's like overused in films, but I kind of liked the found footage thing, that it was pretty much like immerses. It basically feels like it immerses the audience as to what's going on, instead of just being like, like a viewer, just like watching events play out from the sidelines. That being said, I was perfectly fine with that it wasn't found footage at all. It totally works for this movie, and it felt like a real film. And I shouldn't say a real film, but it just made it. It just helped the film stand on its own. And again, this is coming from a guy who's a huge fan of Cloverfield. And it's sort of hard to talk about this movie, but basically the gist of it is, Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays Michelle, who's like a fashion designer. She packs up and leaves and is driving on the street trying to get away from her husband. Her husband calls her on the phone. It was like the cameo by Bradley Cooper. You don't really see him in person. You just hear his voice, but then that's when she's like run off the road, and she's found by John Goodman, where she's like handcuffed to a mattress in a bunker, and said like, I saved your life. There is an attack. It's not safe out there. And of course, she's also down with another person named John Gallagher Jr., who plays Emmett, who said that he was like fighting to get in. And considering like how he basically establishes that the guy's pretty like mentally unstable and creepy. Good intentions or not, and it's the reason why she's questioning why she's doing down there. And she also like tries to escape and tries to find out what's out there. But the thing about this movie is that first you think it goes in one direction, then it goes in another, then takes another twist and turn, and it sounds trite, but the movie really does keep you guessing. And John Goodman gives probably one of the best performances I've seen. One of his best performances in this movie. It's proven why he's a top-notch actor in Hollywood, and he made like a great character. He was a great character in this. He was a great character in this movie, and and it was very multifaceted, and at the end of it, he gave the best performance in the movie. Mary Elizabeth Winstead was great as not being like the damsel in distress, and trying to be resourceful and try to figure out what's going on. But like I said, it takes a twist. You don't know what's happening. You don't know quite what's going on, and it can try to keep you guessing. And to be honest, it's really hard to talk about this movie, but without saying it, so I feel like going into more detail. But basically, I want But basically, I'm just going to get into spoilers right. I'm going to give you a major spoiler warning, major spoilers right now. I'll put an annotation so you can skip ahead to the end of the video and skip ahead to the end of the video, or you can just watch later and come back to it afterwards. But basically, the detail of the story is that John Goodman he's basically like former Navy. He built a bunker in his farmhouse. John Gallagher Jr. Emmett was somebody he hired to basically design the build a bunker for him. And it starts build the bunker for him, and it starts out with because he's so creepy, and he basically comes across as a conspiracy theorist, thinking that first you think it was like a chemical or a nuclear attack, and that the air is contaminated. But while she's sleeping in she's sleeping in a room with it's like has a lock on it, it's like a fallout shelter or whatever. She can hear a car driving over her spot, even though John Goodman says, "Oh, everybody out there's dead." And there's a scene where Emmett is trying to create some levity about how he wants to get tattoos and how that was his biggest regret. And John Goodman just says that he doesn't have any regrets. Like, he just wants to eat in peace. You can just see him just being on edge and clenching his fist and breathing heavily, and even to the point where Mary Elizabeth Winstead tries to play off of this and creates a distraction to get Howard close enough to her that she can grab his keys and try to get out. And that's the scene where she smashes his face with a bottle. And she goes outside and she sees a woman, she sees a car, and that's when she sees a woman coming out, like her face is burned and like her eyes are bloodshot, and she says "That's fine, you can just let me in." But she doesn't. But John Goodman eventually convinces her not to let her in, and the woman who's dying gets pissed off and just banging her head against the glass, and eventually presumably dies and chokes to death from whatever she was infected by. And so that convinces Mary Elizabeth Winstead to stay down the bunker and live peacefully with Emmett and Howard. So Emmett opens up saying that he regrets not being able to go take a full ride to Louisiana Tech or something, because he felt like he would be overshadowed by all this really smart kid, and he was only going there on a free scholarship for track and field. And Michelle talked about how she felt like she was somebody who avoided confrontation because of the fact that she grew up in an abusive household, and her brother would always take the brunt of the beatings from their father, and how she saw a girl who was being with an abusive parent in a hardware store and she didn't say anything, and how she always tries to avoid conflict, and that's why she packed up and left her husband. And then Howard opens up with Michelle about his daughter Megan, about how she loved French culture, and how his mother, during the divorce, his ex-wife took full custody and moved out to Chicago. And he shows him a picture of his daughter, and when Michelle is asked to go crawl through a vent space and go fix the air filtration system, she finds another ladder that goes out from the bunker out to the outside world. It was bright and sunny, how she misses it. And then that's when she finds, sketched in the glass, a message that just says "help." There's a blood stain on it, and she also finds an earring on the floor, and which also belonged to the woman Megan, the woman in the picture that Howard showed to Michelle, and she goes and tells Emmett about it, and she says, "That's not Megan. That's not Megan. Her name is Brittany. She went to my school. She disappeared a couple years back." And they basically realized that not only was he really is keeping them hostage and lying to them about what's going on, and so they just what's going on, or the fact, or at least they start to believe that he was right about the chemical attack. Well, they believe he's right about the chemical attack, but the problem is he just happens to be a psychotic murderer as well. And they also find like a Polaroid picture in his like surviving the apocalypse guy, which is presumably a picture of his actual daughter, and she's wearing the and one scene, and she's also Michelle's wearing wearing the same t-shirt that the real Megan was wearing in the Polaroid picture, and now she starts to think that even though John Goodman confessed to running her off the road by accident and trying to get back to her bunker, she might have just done that intentionally. He might have been probably just kidnapping her, which is why she's able to secretly make a makeshift, hazmat suit out of 2-liter soda bottles and like a shower curtain. Of course, John Goodman becomes suspicious and brings out this barrel of acid that he threatens to kill them and dip them in unless he tells them what's going on. Emmett tries to take the fall and say like, oh, he was just trying to make a weapon to get his gun away from Howard, just to keep Michelle in line, and then Emmett's shot at point blank range, and then Howard finds the suit, and then basically Michelle's just struggling to get out of there, and then she eventually knocks over the acid to burn Howard, and also burns the lamp electrical cord, which starts a fire. She has to crawl through the air vent to the filtration system, and John Goodman's like struggling and trying to catch up with her, and she eventually gets out before the bunker explodes and realizes that the air is not contaminated because there are birds flying around. But at the same time, it turns out that, and she's looking on top of his truck and finds out that there was an attack, but it was by this like apparently weird alien ship. And so she tries to go hide somewhere else in a tool shed, where she finds a dead body. I don't know if it's Howard's or not, but basically, like she accidentally set off a car alarm from another nearby car from the dying woman from earlier in the film, and there's this like worm-like mutant space worm creature, which was foreshadowed before, but I guess it was on hind legs. You don't get a totally good look at it, but she's able to shut off the car alarm to try to get away, but then it starts chasing her into the truck, and then all of a sudden she gets abducted by like this truck, and then after that goes away, she tries to make a run for it for the other house nearby, but then it's destroyed by the alien spaceship, which kind of looks like a spaceship, but then it has like tentacles and a mouth. It's like vaguely resembles a Leviathan, like the alien ship from the Avengers, kind of. And then it's like it starts to abduct her and is like ready to consume her when she goes to hide in the truck. But then she's able to light a match and put paper in it, and there happens to be a bottle of liquor in the back of the truck, and she throws it into the alien ship's mouth and causes it to blow up and crash, and survives the fall. Miraculous, borderline, which is I think it's a borderline miracle. And then she's able to get into the other sedan, starts driving on the road, and just hears a distress call on the radio saying that they fought back the aliens. There's a safe haven in Houston, and then she finds a sign and starts driving towards Houston, Texas. So that's the thing, is just like there were always like jump scares where like there's all this like levity with the characters and everything was pleasant, then it got really tense again, and then it would get really tense again, and the humor just came a lot from, you know, John Goodman just straight off the bat just coming off as like very creepy and not self-aware of how creepy he came off as, and again, you just have to go see this movie. Like regardless of, it doesn't even matter like whether or not this is connected to Cloverfield. It's a fantastic movie. It keeps you guessing. The acting's great. This is definitely one of the best JJ Abrams projects I've ever seen outside of Star Wars, outside of The Force Awakens, and it's definitely like a full price movie. I give it a 9 out of 10. I give it a 9 out of 10. You will not be disappointed. So what are your overall thoughts? Do you guys feel like it's worth going to see the movie? What are you guys' overall thoughts? Do you want to still go see this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Oh, and don't forget to check out my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. review, and I'll also be doing a review for the Captain America Civil War trailer coming out tomorrow, and might also do some more surprise reviews later in this week if I have the time. Just stay tuned. If I have I can't make any promises, but I'm going to do my best. So have a good night, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.